The one and only Richard Oliver joining us now this week. Some big news early on, Richard, the XFL. First, they suspended all of their operations and let go almost all of their employees. And then less than a business day later, they file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Basically, Chapter 11 means that they're planning or they hope to reorganize, not necessarily shut down for good. But Richard, after having seen what the XFL went through and then also having taken 2 years to put all of this together and jumpstart this league, what are the chances that the XFL even returns?
Well, you know what? This is the McMahon family we're talking about. I think they return. This is a vanity project for those folks, and they've got more money than than a lot of small countries, So I think that they feel like they can invest in it. I do think it'll come back in some form and fashion. Great point you make, Jill, about the fact that it is a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which means they can reorganize and come back, as opposed to maybe a Chapter 7 where they divest everything and they just kind of crash and burn. But I tell you, even before the XFL announced that and all the pandemic and things that everybody's been going through, the XFL was having a little bit of a sticky issue in some of the places where they had franchises. So that goes to the larger picture that you and I have already talked about time and again. It's just spring football. Is it going to work? If they have 8, 10 San Antonios, it might work, because obviously there's some passion for it. But overall, this is a really interesting dynamic.
It was roughly a year after the AAF, American Alliance Football League, suspended their operations and ultimately folded. Coincidentally, we have these two leagues that try to jumpstart their football seasons in the spring, and they're met with failure. You mentioned San Antonio, you mentioned the cities. AAF Commanders, they were the hottest team in the league, and they drew the most fans, the highest attendance. It speaks to San Antonio, the city, and how much the Alamo City would love a football team. What are the chances that football ever comes back to San Antonio?
Well, I think there's a really good chance it'll come back in one of these startup spring leagues again, and maybe in the XFL. They're very interested in San Antonio. Reports came out that they were obviously kind of sniffing around the city. And I see that, people know that, look, because there's already a stadium. There's already a fan base that's eager for football. We're always the second fiddle, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't like how it happens, but I think it'll happen. The bigger picture, of course, is, will we ever get NFL here? I think eventually, as big as this city is, it's eventual. It's down the road. It may be a decade away. There's a lot of fan bases that the NFL is going to be able to tap into in San Antonio, northern Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley, Austin. I would see them putting a ballpark, maybe, or a stadium not in San Antonio proper, but I could see them doing it in New Braunfels or San Marcos or something where you have that Austin-San Antonio corridor. It's easy to think about, hey, we've got 2 million people in our metropolitan area, and more than that if you add in Austin. But Jill, to build these stadiums now, we're talking billions of dollars. This isn't like the old days when the Alamo Dome was built off of the sales tax. I mean, this is big time money. That's why you've got to wrap Austin into it, or it's just not going to happen. If you want it in San Antonio, it's going to take a long, long time.
But what you're saying, Richard, is you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. I want it. I could see the NFL working here, but boy, there's a lot of hurdles, and part of it is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, all the way back to the 1960s, were brilliant in courting this population here in San Antonio. Jerry Jones has always said San Antonio is his number 2 market, and he's right. When you look at the rankings and everything else, TV ratings and everything else, San Antonio ranks right up there. The Cowboys have done a great job in courting an audience in San Antonio.
Yeah, you would have to fight off Jerry Jones and that family in order to have another football team in Texas, which I'm sure no one really wants that challenge, but it would be great. And I'm sure, to your point, San Antonio residents and football fans here would love it. Richard, thank you so much.